The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
King of Sport. New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Hello and welcome to this Wrestling to the Max Extra, where we finally get to once again focus on New Japan and specifically the New Japan Cup 2017. The first two full nights have happened, and we've also have a couple of matches from the quarterfinals as well to talk about. Of course, I am your host, Sean Garmer, and with me here, as usual for these things, Mr. Paul Leazar.
Hey, yo.
So, Paul, that first night, we kind of already knew going in. The left side of the bracket, you might have some stinky matches, considering who is going to be there in that, first round on that side. It was always going to be the right side that was going to deliver the much better matches. So, night one, I think we would agree that night one not as successful as night two.
I would completely agree with that as far as the New Japan Cup matches go. In night one, if you're into paying attention to the undercard stuff, I thought the undercard far surpassed a lot of what you got as far as the main card stuff did. But night two was overall just a much more enjoyable show. I mean, the New Japan Cups, it helps when those deliver, but if you're into watching the undercard stuff, there's a lot to sink your teeth into there too.
For the sake of time and relevancy, we're going to, just like we have on our previews, which you can go check out on W2Mnet.com, very well done, by our crew there, our cool New Japan crew that we have that kind of does previews with us. So you should definitely check them out. We have one for the first round and for the quarterfinals. We'll get semifinals in once these other matches are going on. So we're going to focus on the actual tournament matches for this. And, if you really want to know what we thought about, a certain undercard match, well, I don't know. I'm sorry.
Sorry, yeah.
So the first one was, unfortunately, Yuji Nagata and Tangaroa. Oh my God. All the progress that you thought Tangaloa had been making as a tag team wrestler, not evident as a singles wrestler goes. There was times where I felt like he didn't know what the hell he was going to be doing next. And if he wasn't in there with such a great, just a wrestler like Yuji Nagata, a man that's been through it all, a New Japan Cup veteran, 10th time he's been in the New Japan Cup, even though unfortunately he's only there because Honma is injured, but just not a pretty match to watch, and thankfully Yuji Nagata wins.
Yeah, I mean, Yuji tried so hard to make this something, and it really wasn't. Not to mention, Tonga is just not, I think, a singles wrestler. He can stick to tag ranks, or he can go away. Those are his two choices, really. I thought Nagata was fine here, other than the distracting Mark Ciano on his back from a cupping session.
I was wondering what that was.
Yeah, he apparently, whether you believe cupping actually works or not, he obviously does, and if it makes it feel like you can actually bump and take some of the stress off your back, then go for it.
So people who don't know what that is, like me.
Okay, so So cupping is a therapeutic tool that is more popular in Asian countries, but you can get it done here in the States. What he probably had done was fire cupping, and what they do is they take cups and they light cotton balls dipped in alcohol on fire, and very quickly rub the flame inside the cup, and then stick it onto your back. And what this does is it creates suction around the area, and is supposed to, in the case of fire cupping, it's meant to relax muscles and sort of draw things out, which is bunk, really. But I could see the heat at least being somewhat comforting, although I've heard it burns like a son of a bitch, and clearly you can see the marks it left behind on his back.
Yeah. I thought he got a tattoo or something on his.
No, yeah, those are fire cupping scars.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you watch this match or even his match with Evil, you could definitely see they're there, and very prevalent whenever you see his back at all. So there you go. There you know what those are, because I was wondering what that was too. But yeah, definitely. Just to show you, just Tongaloa tries to hit a German, and he doesn't even get Nagata like any part off the ground. It was just bad.
I think even the part I expected to be good, when they spilled to the outside and fight a little, he still looked lost on what to do out there. Like this was just not very good. And even in tag matches, Loa is. I struggle to get into some of the stuff that he does there at times too, but this is just not good. And even Yuji, who has pulled great matches out of Young Lions, couldn't save Loa here. That is how bad this was.
Yes, definitely. And his brother Tamatonga didn't fare any better, because he had the master of the roll-up, Toriano, to face after this, and they pretty much did the Yano special here. Yano just did the hair pull. He did the stuff where he grabs the referee. He dropped Tonga after he tried to do the gun stun, and then he did the low blow and the roll-up, and he wins. It was about 4 minutes.
Yeah. It is what it is, right? I mean, I was a little miffed, just because I'm a big Tamatonga fan, but Yano's got a Yano, right? I mean,
right. Yano's got a Yano. And we would see it definitely much more in the next match that he has with the next person. That this was the biggest surprise of everything here. Bad Luck Fale and Michael Elgin. Oh, this is sad, because Michael Elgin, he is known for having great matches with everyone, and this, well, if you like big men fighting, I can't even tell you to watch it for big men fighting, because this was just two dudes running into each other, Michael Elgin trying to do stuff, and Fale just wasn't having any of it, and Fale wins with a grenade.
This was perplexing on so many fronts. The match structure itself, I kind of got what they were going for. Elgin, in most of his New Japan appearances, is very much based off of out-muscling you instead of out-wrestling you, and he tried to do that with Fale here, and I don't think Fale knows what to do. He doesn't have a lot of experience doing the big guy match, right? He has a lot of experience wrestling hard-hitting matches. He has a lot of experience doing Fale squashes. I don't think he has a lot of experience with somebody in the likes of Michael Elgin trying to do what Fale usually does to opponents. So right. I felt like that was where it sort of got off the rails. And even more so, having Fale win, I understand New Japan having these moments where they feel like they need to make sure that you still understand that Bad Luck Fale is a big man, a scary man, and can really win and beat you at any time. But Michael Elgin just came off the performance of a lifetime And for him to not make it out of the first round, either Gedo believes that Elgin doesn't need the New Japan Cup and that a rematch with Naito is more than likely going to happen down the line again, or there is a different plan afoot for Elgin, and it's not what we expect it to be. And I don't know why you wouldn't want to at least have him make it to the semis at the least. Maybe not the finals, but at least making it past the first 2 rounds for sure.
I agree with you in that I think both of us had Mike Elgin winning, so that busted our bracket, so to say. But this is like there's other times where you can make Fale feel like he's the big guy, he's strong, he's it's just you couldn't do that with anybody else but Michael Elgin. Okay,
Right.
like almost felt like, well, until we got the result that happened on the show from yesterday morning, I almost felt like this was the proverbial, Geto's doing this just to shock people, but then obviously not, because I feel like with the guy we're going to talk about next, I don't know that you're going to have a better match with Fale with him either, and I hope to God that Fale doesn't go to the final because, Ishii, if there's anybody that actually had a decent match in the G1 with Fale, it was Ishii, because Ishii can just have a match with anyone at this point. I'm convinced that Ishii could have a match with a Stone Block, and it would be great. Even though he would have a hard time moving that block, it would be great because Ishii would find a way to make it great. But, I just don't know. I don't know if I hope to God that he just, that's it. That's
that's not good. I can't hear you, Sean.
Oh, you can't hear me now?
Oh, okay, now I can hear you.
Okay. I just hope this is it. Evil and Fale and that, we get Evil going because, man.
I tell you what.
Especially because last year we had such a great. Goto and Naito was freaking great.
Yeah, it was absolutely phenomenal last year. And I think a lot of the New Japan Cup matches last year, if I remember correctly, were mostly on the good side too. And you have such a strong crop of champions right now too, as far as who's got your top 3 single belts. So you have that working against you too. But I think what you get in the Evil Tanahashi match is really top shelf work, right? Evil plays a great heel. Tanahashi, people are still way into. And this was really the only match that evening. I felt like the live crowd even gave 2 figs about the whole way, simply because Tanahashi was out there. I don't know if I so much agree with Evil getting the Evil Mist in and all this stuff. But it is what it is at the end of the day. Evil wins, and that's what I predicted. That's what I figured would happen to. Evil gets a much-needed win. Him and Fale, I don't really know if I care so much about. I hope Evil wins. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Fale in the final to make. I would assume it would be Ishii in the final on the other side of that. And if you do get that matchup again, I'm sure it'll be fine. And it's another big, stepping stone for Ishii to overcome in this whole thing that he's been slowly in the background working from since he beat Okada in the G1.
Right.
But I have all the faith in the world that Ishii can work with a Stone Block, as you would say. I would have all the faith in the world that if you threw a freaking stone, a big, huge stone ball at either of them, that Stone Block is going to break before Ishii does. It's just how it's going to work out.
Yeah, exactly. So why don't you like the Mist thing?
One, it sort of treads on Bushi's territory, and Bushi has such a hard time already, I think, remaining relevant in a super stacked LIJ stable. Mm-hmm. Especially since Hiromu has come in. and sort of taken the junior heavyweight spotlight away from him and sort of forced him into being just a background guy in the group. Secondly, I would have rather Evil had cheated than use a mist, just because I feel like there's not a ton of. And it's not that I don't hate that I hate the mist itself as an angle. I don't feel like it really works for Evil, right? I mean, he's kind of the big heavy hitter. I don't really. It just doesn't fit, for me.
Yeah, Bushi definitely it fits for him
Mm-hmm.
as the last recourse or whatever. They sort of take things from each other, so I'm sort of okay with it as long as it doesn't become an Evil staple. Because he already has Evil already has his thing. He has the home run chair shot where,
Mm-hmm.
which he did on Tanahashi. It didn't look great because, you're not going to make that chair flip like that on Tanahashi. I don't think he's like set for that kind of thing. Evil kind of really took it to Tanahashi. And then, Tanahashi got in his dragon screw and sort of set things back his way. And then they really started getting into the Tanahashi type match with the crossbody to the outside with, they had the big spots where Tanahashi again sort of being heelish a bit, with the chair. He gets mad and he brings the chair in and does that neckbreaker thing to the chair on Evil, and I mean, Evil ends up winning, but yeah, I mean Tanahashi gave him everything, so
Right.
you know.
I loved Evil's work in this too. I don't think I've ever talked about this, but that fireman carry into the sit-out powerbomb thing he does is just a thing of beauty every single time. It's one of my favorite moves that he does. It doesn't really, I think, work so well working to an STO as his finisher, but I think Evil got to look like a star here. That's what's important. It really feels like they're trying to make sure that that Evil is going to be something big. And I think that's the plan for everybody in LIJ right now, just because the stable is so hot and you have so much, I think, going for it. But I think Evil, even on a promo afterwards, like he fits the character so well. And I mean, everything is evil, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's just true facts.
I think you said Evil like 20 times, which that was totally fine with. That was a cool thing with Evil, and he even said something in English, which that helped to, yeah. I mean, Evil's really fun to watch, and he hits hard, and it's a great thing to get to keep watching him through the tournament. He does have the match with Yuji Nagata, which I thought, well, I mean, much better for Nagata, working a guy that he's worked with before, which helps. And then just those two, their styles work much better with each other. Evil also wins this. Nagata gives him, a hell of a fight as well, but I think Evil kind of takes care of it a lot sooner and a lot easier than with Tanahashi.
Right, and I mean that's going to happen. Nagata is, I don't want to say an old man, but an older gentleman who is still applying the grappling arts, if you will. Evil is just what he
Totally
is,
understand.
right?
You don't want Nagata coming here kicking you in the face.
I
That's
really don't. I like my face. And like I said, Evil is the one they're pushing pretty hard out of this side of the bracket. Especially with Elgin going down. I'm pretty sure. I'm very hopeful, at least, that he makes it to the final. Obviously, you can never count out Fale getting that random victory. But the match with Nagata was good. I mean, much better, obviously, as you said, for Nagata. A little bit of a step down from his work with Tanahashi, but that's to be expected.
Yeah, certainly. And, I mean, like, Nagata had his moments where, you thought he might win or anything, and Evil has eventually put him away. So that's what you need to make him look strong going into this hopefully moving on to the finals. But before we get into talking about night 2, just might as well go over the Yano and Fale match. I thought these, for one, they work well together because, Fale is a big guy and Yano's kind of just running around trying to find out ways to, like, how the hell do I get this guy down? And he just, rolled him up a million times. And I love that they built to the scoop slam spot and he finally did it. And, the crowd was sort of totally behind Yano here. I mean, they weren't, like, massively behind him or anything, but they were behind him. Fale eventually wins with a grenade, but this was fun, and I had picked. I thought Yano would go to the semifinal and whatever, but Fale moves on.
Yeah, I think Fale rightfully moves on in this situation. Yano is what he is at this point, and he's not really going to be much more than your typical tag champ, or maybe another run with 6-mans or stuff like that. Bad luck Fale at times feels like New Japan really wants him to be something more than what he is, and he's only going to be what he is, I think, right now. And that's the scary big guy. But I think he works well in this situation. Like, he can work a very nice foil to Yano or to maybe even a Juice Robinson at some point, where you have these more outlandish characters dealing with him, and he doesn't play that shit.
Yeah, certainly not going to play that shit at all. But moving on to the night that had a lot more going for it, but sadly we had to get through one more kind of, it's just their match before we get to 3 really, really good matches in a row. Juice Robinson against Yujiro. Man, Yujiro just never looks like, number one, never looks like he cares. Number two, just, the dude just, there's, I don't know. I don't care what you tell me. It just looks like he never gets better at things, or I guess goes back to that caring part either. Juice really again tried, but not a whole lot you can do with Yujiro at this point.
I read maybe the greatest comment I ever read about Yujiro and people's opinion of him, of how they treat him, right? Yujiro isn't a bad wrestler. He's actually good at times. He's a very lazy one, and that is why so many people, including the guy who made the comment, cannot stand him. There's a lot. I mean, wasting potential, especially in front of so many people in a hot promotion where people are very passionate about the product now. It's a big detriment to not only yourself, but I think to certain matches, especially with Juice, who the crowd was super behind in this match, and Juice is working his ass off to really try to put together a match, and Yujiro's just going through the motions and sort of playing up to his bunny friend on the outside, and that's really about all this ever was. And thank God Juice won. I don't think I could have stand another Yujiro match in the New Japan Cup.
I totally agree with you, and man, I'm excited for this match that we're going to get to see sometime tomorrow, or well, later today, because if Juice and Gedo was anything to go on, Juice and Shibata should be, great.
I don't envy being Juice Robinson's chest.
No, I don't. I mean, Shibata's going to be pissed, but, it's going to be interesting. But since we were already talking about it, because it could play into this, it's possible that, maybe Juice goes on because of what we kind of saw a little bit in this match. Shibata and Minoru Suzuki, Shibata winds up winning, hitting a Death Valley driver and then the PK to beat Suzuki. But, I mean, Suzuki had Taichi there at ringside to, beat him up at times on the outside. They frickin' Suzuki just walloped Shibata at times too. And then Shibata would do the same to him. And it's two guys that, again, they know each other. They're gonna do their their submission stuff and kind of trying to counter each other and whatever. If this is kind of like the Okada and Suzuki match, like you're either gonna really like this or you're gonna almost find it boring at times. And I was sort of more on the side of I didn't think it was great. I thought it was really good, and I'm glad the right guy won.
I really enjoyed this match personally. I also enjoyed the Okada Suzuki match. I thought that they're different in the fact that this is a much more violent affair. The other one was Suzuki picking a body part and literally tearing it down for 40 minutes. This is two guys giving you a lot, but I don't think they're giving you full ham here. They like you get big moments, right? These guys go back. There's a moment where they trade about 20,000 forearms with each other. There's another moment where they're literally teeing off on each other with some of the stiffest kicks and strikes you'll see that side of the Pacific. I mean, it's shit. The bombs these guys drop on each other with near reckless abandon is impressive enough on its own. But they didn't give you everything, right? They cut out a lot of the grappling I thought we were going to get at the beginning. They only did that about 5 minutes before you start getting into the part where they decided to murder each other. But I think that's great, and it works in context because you've been building to all of this, and now you have this done. Whether Suzuki and the rest of his buds decide to get involved in Shibata and Juice's match, I don't know for sure because they've obviously played that card with Zack Sabre, and I don't know if they're willing to revisit that so soon again. As far as pulling that angle off, but certainly this is far from over. And Suzuki, to his credit, walked away from the ring looking like he went through a damn war. So I wouldn't sell Shibata out of winning this thing just yet.
Yeah, I would agree that Shibata could definitely take it to Ishii in that next round, assuming both men go through. But I wonder if this is part of something bigger, and maybe they do have Suzuki gonna get involved here, and this leads to Shibata losing and Juice continues on. But I mean, it's still you got a terrific match here. If this is the only, I mean, he'll get the match with Juice, but if this is the only sort of big high profile match he gets to have, doesn't go on past Juice, then hey, you got that out of Shibata, and that was well earned. And this is a match a lot of people were looking forward to, and I think it certainly delivered that.
I see some comments and stuff out there about people thinking it underperformed. I thought it was going to be exactly sort of what we got. Obviously, like I said, I think parts of it were briefer than I assumed it was going to be. But what you still get here is still top quality stuff.
Yeah, certainly. So then we get finally you get in a high profile situation, Yoshihashi and Sanada going against each other. It was really cool that we got the video of them in the dojo together at one point. That was cool. I like that. And then I mean this match, these two are just so good with each other. Yoshihashi Sanada, and they have great chemistry. And once again, it showed here. Sanada hitting the TKO and then hitting the skull in, but Yoshihashi gets to the ropes, and Yoshihashi gets that butterfly lock in, and Sanada has to fight what seems like forever to get out of it. Then he gets it on him again, and this was just a great back and forth, just never stopped, and Sanada winds up winning with that Skull's End, eventually making Yoshihashi tap. But I know a lot of you guys are going Yoshihashi here, but I kind of felt like Sanada winning was sort of something they were Gedo was going to do to kind of push him up a little bit. Plus Yoshihashi kind of got pushed, and then he sort of went back to being a regular guy, and that's kind of sad because big Yoshihashi fan, but sometimes you gotta take the L, and he did that, but he looked really strong here doing that.
I really agonized on my predictions on this match specifically because this one is really could have gone either way. Yoshihashi, I don't. They might have pulled back on the push a little bit, but he's certainly still figuring very prominently as far as undercard roles go. He got that big win against Suzuka. He had that incredible match with Adam Cole at Honor Rising. Like, he's still got his stock is on the rise. Sonata, they really seem intent on giving him these wins on the big stage. We saw it during the G1 on a few occasions, but especially on the night one, where he goes over Tanahashi, surprisingly. He gets a couple other big wins here or there. He's been prominent in all the LIJ multi-man matches. Obviously he's never open weight 6-man tag champ right now too. This I don't want to say came off as a bit of a surprise for me, but I'd be lying if I say I wasn't at least a little shocked in that Sonata one. Just because I felt like they were more intent on rehabbing Yoshihashi, but Sonata getting the win makes me incredibly happy. The dude's an incredible talent. And I think you see that in this match, not only because him and Yoshihashi, I think, are almost carbon copies of each other, but Sonata himself, I think, is he's a better worker than Yoshi. I'll just come out and say it, but Sonata is just, he's so good, and he has a look about him, and he has all this charisma, and people are they're into LIJ as a whole, but they love them some Sonata just as much as they love Naito at times, and boy, I can't wait to see what they do with this guy going forward. He's going to be a surefire main eventer for New Japan within the next 3 to 4 years, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. If he's not, it's because they're holding him back or something. But I can't imagine any time here that they don't eventually elevate him, and they're giving him so many big wins at this point that it's hard for me to not see that happening for him. But it's just, man, yeah, this is a really good match, and just these two again. Every time they get in the ring with each other, you know you're going to get some good stuff, and hopefully this is not the end. We get more with these two, because I definitely would like to see it. So I saved the best for last, because this was definitely the best match of everything we've seen up to this point. And hell, when you know you're going to get Tomohiro Ishii and Kenny Omega in a match, you know you are going to get fantastic stuff. These guys went 30 minutes, and this was a total, big show main event, 4.5 star and above territory for these guys. Just, such great stuff. Look, Tomohiro Ishii does a freaking Rana off the top. That's all you need to know.
That's right, fucking jaw dropping.
That was amazing. Omega does all the knees and everything, and the which they were still incredible near falls. It's amazing how good he makes them look and how much the crowd buys into them. The finish was absolutely awesome too, and just, man, like, what's funny too is they were chanting for Kenny at the beginning of this, and you're not in Tokyo here, and then by the middle of it, everybody's chanting for Ishii, because I don't know how you cannot chant for Ishii in this match, and just any other time Ishii has a match. This is what you end up doing, because he's so great.
There has not been a more consistent worker in pro wrestling for the last 3 years than Tomohiro Ishii. Every big match, every singles opportunity he gets to really go out there and put on a show, he delivers 4.5 plus every time, no questions asked. Short of AJ Styles, there's nobody, I think, that's even close to touching how great his work has been. The fact that he hasn't gotten a big chance at the IC title or even the heavyweight championship can only be described as criminal. And also, when you look up and down at the top of the New Japan card, understandable.
You're right.
He is literally in the murderer's row of main event talent. And even though they keep signing these big name guys, he's the guy I think they rely upon to build certain matches. I mean, look, he's the reason the never openweight title matters, and he's the reason why I think a lot of other guys have as good matches in their resume as they do. Looking at guys like Hanma or Makabe, or I think to a lesser degree Shibata, even though Shibata's a terrific worker. But just you want a guy looking great, you put him in the ring with Ishii, and Kenny Omega was fucking awesome in this too. I don't want to sell him short because there's a DDT he put on Ishii that damn near, I mean, it would have murdered anybody else in the entire world. I mean, good God. Absolutely sickening. This shocked the hell out of me, though. I was not expecting Ishii to win. I thought Kenny was a surefire finalist candidate for him to come up short against Michael Elgin. That gets shot to hell immediately out the gate. I can't say that
I think it's like what you said. Gedo feels that both he and Elgin don't need this.
Mm-hmm. That's I wasn't sure after the Elgin loss. I was sure of that reasoning after Kenny lost. And that's a fair point, but I would figure you would at least want to push some of these guys a little bit more. Just keep them in the limelight. More so Elgin than Omega, really. But looking at what you have coming out of this with Ishii and I guess on this side of the bracket, Ishii and Juice and Shibata and Sonata, these are all guys who could really use a New Japan Cup win. And especially Ishii and Sonata having so many interesting choices if they do win. Ishii, for example, has two of his stablemates that are holding the big belts, and then there's Naito holding the IC title. So does he finally challenge for the heavyweight title match that he should have got when he beat Okada in G1? Does he go back to what he knows in the never openweight title, or does he say, I'm Chaos forever and challenge Naito? And on the other side of that, I mean, Sonata obviously could challenge anybody, but him challenging Naito and try and maybe get a little big for his britches to even, I don't want to say overthrow, but try to prove that he's the real leader or something like that. That's an insanely interesting story to follow.
Yeah, because you've got another LIJ guy on the left side that you would think would be the finalist. So, and it's interesting too because it makes you go, okay, well, if Evil's the finalist on the other side, well, Ishii would have had to gone through the two heavyweight LIJ guys to get to Naito.
Right.
And so it sort of sets that stage for him to challenge Naito because, okay, well, I beat two of your guys. Now I want you and your title, plus what you said, just to keep it away from... If they didn't have Okada call out Ishii at all because of them being stablemates, I just can't imagine that, Ishii would do that in return. I'd imagine he would go for the one title that's not held by one of his stable guys, so...
I mean, I would think so too, but there's a lot there, especially when you look at Okada's title reign, where he's had these absolutely grueling matches.
Right.
And if it's Ishii coming out of this, or even Shibata, guys who are on that precipice of really being, I think, top name guys for New Japan. When you look at where Okada is right now, just as far as health in storyline, like he's gotten the shit beat out. Like he is holding it together by threads, at least at this point. So, I mean, you sense a weakness there, and maybe you go after that. That's something you don't see a lot in American storytelling, but certainly in Puro, it's much more common. So maybe they go that route too.
I could definitely see Shibata doing something like that.
I mean, if Shibata wins, he's challenger for the heavyweight title. There's no gaps about that. Like, I think that's pretty obvious.
I would agree. I definitely do think that even though, it is great to say, like, oh, we've kept them away from each other and these guys are, we want it to only be a Wrestle Kingdom match or whatever. It is good to sort of have that tester to see how does the crowd react if we get them into another match with each other. How are they going to be into it? I don't think you need to overdo it like they did with Naito and Okada last year. I think if you have the Sakura Genesis match, and then okay, well they don't touch each other again until Wrestle Kingdom or whatever, then I'm fine with that. Obviously depending on how the crowd receives that Sakura Genesis match if that were to happen, but
Hmm.
I still feel like they kept them apart for a reason, and barring a G1 setting this year or something like that, I feel like it's for something bigger.
I mean, yeah, I think they have to keep in mind drawing in Sakura and all that for the Sakura Genesis card. Uh, do they think Ishii and Okada can draw, or do they play it safe and go with Naito and Ishii and count on Naito on that end, or do they stick with Shibata and make the big match and try to pull this off? I mean, there's so many different ways to look at this, and really trying to put something together. I mean, Evil winning, which I don't think we should discount if he does make it that far. Him challenging, I would assume he would go back for the Never title, but when you have a chance at the big belt, I don't know why you would choose the lesser of the two unless you had a story like Elgin did.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's. I mean it's just an interesting thing because the only other time that somebody's not challenged for the world title was Nakamura because that was his belt. At
Right.
that time, it would be kind of interesting to see somebody finally decide that on their own that hey I wanna go for the title. It's not the heavyweight title, but again it might just be Ishii feeling like okay well now I'm gonna force your hand Okada.
Right.
And well, now you have to give me the shot because I ultimately won this. It's not like the G1 where technically they do win the shot, but it's more of the champion has to want to acknowledge that too. The champion has to want to say, okay, well, you beat me, so I'm gonna give you a shot.
Right.
Whereas New Japan Cup, you earn it, so he has to give it to it. There's a lot of interesting ways and a lot of interesting things they could do. Maybe it's not Ishii in the end. So
Hmm.
I just hope it's not like Sonata and Fale either, because I don't want to see that either.
I mean, there are a few pairings with Fale that make the Ishii and
Do you
Shibata
think they would
really.
do Sonata and Evil?
I think it's possible. Certainly I don't want to discount Gedo's mad genius that he has running through his veins, but um, I would say unlikely, but it's certainly possible. I mean, I don't know where you. I mean, I think you go with Sonata in that occasion as far as who gets the Duke, but it could be Evil and Sonata. I don't see why we should discount it. I would put it lower on the things of happening.
Right. Uh, yeah. Just I would agree with you on that. I think it's
Mhm.
lower on the potential happening, but man, that would be kind of crazy to have the two. Uh, we did have Evil and Naito before, so it is it could be there. It could be there.
Right.
But I mean, definitely, night two is better than night one. Do you have a rating for the nights or?
Night one, I think I was somewhere in the 6.5 area. Night two, I think I'm somewhere in the 7.5, maybe pushing an 8, if only slightly. Tomohiro Ishii and Kenny Omega is match of the year candidate, no doubt. A
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal match. Shibata and Suzuki, I think, is a little short of the match of the year mark, but it is damn good, and so is Sonata and Yoshihashi. And I enjoyed the undercard on both shows too. There's a lot to like. Um, More young lion development, lots of Lij multi-man matches, good stuff happening.
Yeah, certainly. I'd kind of agree with you. I'd go 6 on the first night, and yeah, I think I'll go with the 8 on the second night. There was definitely stuff there to check out, and again, definitely go watch Ishii Omega. Definitely watch Tanahashi Evil. Honestly, you couldn't go wrong watching the 3 big matches on the night two because they were all great.
Hmm.
So until we'll I don't know what so there's a match on Wednesday, and then there's a match on Friday, and then you have the semifinals on Sunday,
The
and
19th.
then the final is on Monday, the 20th.
Correct.
So,
I think both the 19th and the 20th are going to be full shows on New Japan World, if I remember
yes.
correctly.
Yeah.
Whereas the quarterfinal matches are being uploaded individually.
Right, so probably around like noon Eastern, you'll get the Shibata and Juice match. If on the 15th on Wednesday, and then you'll get on Friday around noon Eastern, you'll get Ishii and Sonata. So
Right.
definitely two matches worth checking out, I think. And then it'll get you ready for those semifinals and the final. That you can watch the whole show if you want. You can just keep doing what we do on the podcast here and just focus on the tournament matches. So, all right. Well, until then, everybody. The next time we see you talking New Japan on Monday evening. Later.
Have a good one, guys.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.